4 weeks ago, I set off on a bold mission to thin out my troublesome couch grass surround around the edge of the green there, believing that I still had about 4 weeks of weather until I was likely to see a frost or weather really cool off. This had been the trend in seasons gone by, and even if I look back on photos from 12 months ago, I look and I can see that even the neighbours' lawns were still green, still growing, etc. However, this year, as I drive through my neighbourhood, we can see that most of the lawns now have lost all their colour and have gone dormant. It would seem that Mother Nature had some tricks up her sleeve for some cocky fella that does some YouTube videos like myself. Now, it was about 5 days after I did the renovation that we copped our first frost, which is early for us, and the weather really cooled off. Little did I know that we would see another 5 or 6 frosts to date. So we're 4 weeks in. As I mentioned earlier, we're 4 weeks in. I did have some footage of some of the things I did in that time, but unfortunately, I accidentally erased the footage thinking I'd already put it on my computer. So I'll just give you a quick update on where we're at. After our first frost, I did decide I needed to pick up my game and I needed to throw every trick I had at this lawn to help it recover. So the first thing that I did was I actually gave it a really light top dress. Now that gave me 2 things. That gave me a little bit of a warm blanket because the sand is a darker colour and it will absorb the heat and create a mini microclimate just to give that grass that little extra kick along, or that little extra bit of encouragement to help it come back and recover. The second thing that will do is, being a sort of 70-30 sand mix, so 70% sand, 30% clay silt material. Within that clay silt material will be some nice minerals and some nutrients, sort of things that you don't always find in regular off-the-shelf sort of fertilizers. So we put that down and I got quite a reasonable reaction to that. Now, after that, I actually gave it another feed. I gave it another hit of urea. This time, because the season had cooled down, we were getting sub-zero temperatures, I went in the form of a liquid feed. So once again, the 2 kilos per 100 square meters in a liquid feed, and that would have been 2 weeks ago today. So I'm going to show you now what this green looks like today, and well, I should say what this surround looks like today. The first thing you're going to notice is the substantial colour loss in the green, but you're going to see a pretty amazing surround. As you can see in the surround, we have had what I would call, for this time of year and 4-week recovery window, an amazing response. I have managed to resurrect this. I had to throw everything I had at it, but as you can see, really happy with how the recovery is trending. Now, it's obviously not as quick as perhaps a springtime renovation is, but for the end of season, touching on winter, 5 frosts in, I am super impressed with how this has responded. And as I said, it really made me dig deep and push hard. But we're on the road to recovery right now, even to the point where, although it's not perfect in all spots, this will slowly continue to fill in over the cool months. Providing when I mow, for example, my front lawn, if I'm mowing that and I'm getting the tiniest amount of clippings off that, that tells me it's growing. This will do the same. This will continue to grow. This will continue to fill in, and it may, as winter stretches on, lose its colour, but it will slowly continue to fill in. So I'm not going to spend winter bare. There was a slight period there where I thought, I don't think this is going to come back. I might have to do an oversow with some rye. 2 reasons I didn't do that. Number one, I didn't have any rye grass left. I actually gave that to Ben for his ryegrass project down further down the valley. And number 2, I had a feeling, but I couldn't be sure. I had a feeling that I might have actually done a pre-emergent. I just could not recall if I had done it or not. I know I did my front, and I've just had a feeling I might have done the surrounds. I thought, I can't really put any seed down anyway. I'm just going to have to wear this one. So luckily enough, we've had some good recovery. Let's have a closer look now at some of the areas that are good and some of the areas that are not so good, and we'll talk about where we're going to head from there. As we look in front of me here now, this is obviously one of the better areas. Now, the reason that this area here is so good is because we're close to the house. So we've got warm walls, we've got warm concrete, and it's fairly sheltered as it boxes into this corner. So I never had any doubt in my mind that this area here wouldn't recover, and as you can see, it's done a pretty good job. And I'd nearly think, and I'm not about to do this, if I put a cylinder mower on this now, I bet you I'd get the ever so much slightest amount of clippings in the catcher. So it's on the cusp. I reckon another 4 weeks, and I could cut this and get, oh look, a negligible amount of grass, but I'd get grass off this, I would suspect, if I was to give this a cut. Not going to do that this week, but yeah, as I said, maybe in 4 weeks' time we might come back and give it a little clip. Let's have a look now at some other areas which are of interest, and I'll explain some things that I discovered along the way. So this little section here, and this was our section of, I guess, the more troublesome, drier area in summer. The one there, I actually put the soaker hose on and gave it that bit of extra burst. Now, this section just here, through to that garden, is actually more wintergreen than it is Santarana. In fact, this thinner area down around here, down into this corner here, is all Santarana. And then we hop back up to this section here, that is wintergreen. Now, this was actually one of the first areas to recover. And the reason that was the case was because this wasn't as thick and as thatchy or had as much mat. When we did our, I guess, thin out and our height reset, there wasn't much height to reset. There was still quite a bit of leaf left. So this area was able to photosynthesize more effectively, hence the faster recovery. So as we look down closer here, really, there's nothing wrong with that. That's really good recovery. And as we look down towards where it used to dry right out, it's all pretty good. Now, as we head down to this area here, this was one of those really hard affected areas. This was really thatchy. This is really matty. It had a lot of grass come out of this area. And we can see this is probably the worst section I've got left. It is starting to come back as we get closer. There's plenty of green shoots, but it was one of the areas that had the least amount of grass left when we'd done it. So the grass obviously struggled a little bit to photosynthesize. So the slow recovery is there. The other area that was slow was a little bit through here. But again, as we look now, it's full of green, and I'm pretty happy with that. Again, down through here, it was also extra thick, but starting to really push back through. So although it's still thin, certainly not stressing about it anymore. I did actually want to do a video yesterday. So yesterday I did actually put out an application of some soil amendments and some stress busting products from the plant doctor. So I did want to do that yesterday. I didn't get time to do it on camera. So when we come back, what we're going to do is see, so the next 7 days, temperatures here are meant to be quite good. In fact, we're coming back out of our very low 0s and 1 and 2 degree minimums, back up to 8s and 9s, and daytime temperatures up to about 24 to 26 for the next week. So that should really help this once again. So I've got a little bit of time until we get our next burst of cold weather. So I really reckon I'm happy. I'm really quite happy with the results. So green has lost a lot of colour since last time round, but still looking pretty good. But as you can see, in the areas that aren't at all focused on, winter is certainly taking its toll. So there is a lot to be said about correct practices and prepping areas up for the cooler months, because I'm not suggesting for a minute that you go and do this and pump a heap of urea into it. All I'm suggesting is if you do things correctly, you can get amazing results. So that's where we are. Just a little bit of an update. We will come back to this in another couple of weeks, and I'll continue to bring you some updates. Anyway, guys, have a fantastic weekend. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and we'll catch you next time on The Aussie Lawn.